Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga, where previously, the Johto Pokédex holders have continued coming together in their own various ways in order to stop the mad machinations of Team Rocket, led by the mysterious Masked Man. While we see the Masked Man going after Ho-Oh, saying that they had previously encountered each other, the Pokédex holders encountered Lugia, who seemed to be aggravated, and when they saw an opportunity to capture him, apparently someone took him from out from under them. And so while Silver goes and mysteriously meets none other than Lance, showing that they've been working together for some time apparently, Gold continues to team up with Crystal, heading to the Pokemon League, as the Pokemon Committee as well as the professors have tasked them with potentially finding the Masked Man's true identity amongst the various gym leaders from both the Kanto and Johto region, fighting in an exhibition match. But we had also previously seen that Suicune had chosen none other than Misty to be its master, or at the very least its partner, because of her expertise when it comes to water-type Pokemon. So the trap has been set. Although, will everything go according to plan? The Masked Man has been elusive and cagey all this time, and with both potentially Lugia and Ho-Oh under his command, and Raikou and Entei not having chosen partners, we're a little bit out of our depth when it comes to this so far. What'll happen next? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, it is volume 13. Nice cover page with the Johto Pokédex holders and the legendary dogs. I'm still trying to kind of suss out some things. Specifically, Crystal has had an interesting relationship when it comes to Suicune, but we haven't really seen such a relationship when it comes to Gold and Silver and Raikou and Entei. Who would go to who? Although we know that they're not really specifically looking for the Dex holders in this case, so maybe it's a moot point. Regardless, let's jump in. Alright, as Jasmine and Brock step forward, the announcer announces, is it DJ Mary who's doing the emceeing throughout all of this? Regardless, first match, Brock of Pewter Gym versus Jasmine of Olivine Gym. Begin in chapter 155, Capital Kabuto. Ooh, now that I think about it, I know that it was on the cover, but one of my favorites, right there in the corner, Suicune. Brock thinks to himself, this is the first I've seen of the gym leaders from Johto. The league put us on different train cars and in different hotels. Now that I see them, they look pretty strong, no surprise there. Worthy representatives of their gym. Brock then calls out, allow me to reintroduce myself. I'm Brock of the Pewter Gym. The first Pokemon I'll use in this match is Kabutops, and he sends out said Pokemon. I received a Kabuto after I protected the Pewter Museum from an attack last year. Now that it's evolved, it's bigger, stronger, and sharper clawed. Now, who do you choose? Okay, Brock's getting into the swing of things. Oh, meanwhile, Jasmine is placing each of her Pokeballs on the ground. See, Jasmine feels exactly like how I remember her from the anime. I didn't realize she had 2 Togetic. What? Is that always a thing? Now I'm looking through various different information and it's like, nah, she's never had a Togetic. That's so odd. Yeah, why 2 of them too? That is so odd. Especially considering Gold's Togepi was just kind of sent off to pasture, more or less. Regardless, Jasmine says, I'll decide after I check the condition of my Pokemon one more time. I always do that right before a battle, which, I mean, if you remember, even in the game, Jasmine really does care about the health of her Pokemon, especially after, well, it was her Ampharos who got sick, right? So she brings out her Ampharos, 2 Togetics, and 2 Magneton. And as I love Brock in the background just looking at his Kabutops like, Jasmine goes down the line, petting each of them on the head, saying, let's see, I choose Amphi, my Ampharos. Here I go. And Ampharos rushes in. Brock shouts, all right, as Kabutops does the same. They clash, struggling against each other. Misty questions, do you think Brock can win? Well, Erica just smiles, saying, yes, he'll be fine. I know how strong he is. But then she thinks to herself, the only thing that bothers me is her Pokemon team. While Brock thinks to himself, I don't get it. Most gym leaders are experts in some type. Each of the Kanto leaders has an expertise. Fire, rock, grass, electric, poison, water, psychic. I can't figure Jasmine out. Which is especially weird because she's the steel gym leader, right? Although I know that it was sometimes kind of ground or rock types, but it's primarily steel. That was always the big thing. She was the steel type gym leader. I'm surprised that it's kind of working out this way. I mean, maybe it's because of the Ampharos, and it's a electric type, so that would kind of throw you off. Yeah, now that I really think about it from that perspective. But the Ampharos was for the lighthouse, right? Was Ampharos her Pokemon in the games? Hold on. Yeah, no. Her thing was always her Steelix. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I'm kind of caught up, but kind of questioning. Was the Ampharos hers always? Yeah. In most things, the Ampharos is hers, but she never uses it to battle. At least not in the game. That's so interesting. Yeah, that does kind of throw things off when you would think that would be her Pokemon primarily, but because it is a necessity for the lighthouse, which is weird that you would need Pokemon specifically. That was it, right? You needed it for the lighthouse. Yeah, that's such a odd thing. Brock thinks the Ampharos and her Magneton make me think she's an electric type expert. The Togetic are normal and flying type Pokemon. Either she doesn't have a special expertise, or she's hiding it on purpose to confuse me, right? Brock calls out, well, no point wondering about it. Kabutops. Ancient Power. Ooh. Have we seen Ancient Power before in the manga? I can't remember. That's cool, though. Well, the Ancient Power knocks Amphi back. Super Nerd Miles shouts, that was powerful. The exhibition match has the same rules as league battles. And if any of your 6 Pokemon get knocked out, you lose on the spot. Is that Ampharos okay? Wait, if any of your 6 Pokemon get knocked out, you lose on the spot. That's not how that works. Just because one Pokemon is taken... What? Huh? I don't feel like that's right. Either the... Because I know that was for the, test to be a gym leader, but... Brock confidently says, seems you avoided losing. Barely. As Ampharos does its best to retain its consciousness. Jasmine asked, when you saw my Pokemon, you wondered what kind of expert I am, didn't you? Electric, flying, normal, none of the above. But once, I was a rock-type expert like you. Oh, She was previously a rock-type expert. Amphi was in the strongest condition of all my Pokemon, and you still won. So it's time to bring out my ultimate Pokemon. And she brings out Steelix, which towers above Brock, much to his surprise. Yeah, see, that's what I'm used to. Jasmine and her friggin' Steelix. Brock says, questions an Onix, and I'll go with the same. Onix! And he brings out his. And as the two stride atop their Pokemon, Brock calls out, so that's what was in the unopened Pokeball. I guess that means you're finally fighting for real. But as Brock gets a closer look at Jasmine's Pokemon, he says that Onix looks funny, kind of strange somehow. But he disregards it, telling his Onix, let's go. And the two snake-like monstrosities clash. As Onix wraps around Steelix, Brock tells it to use Bind. And as Onix does just that, he calls out, how's that? But Onix's body starts to crack against Steelix's. Brock shouting, what? My attack's landing on target, but I'm getting hurt? Steelix is undeterred as Onix is hurt by this incredible power. DJ Mary calls out, a hard defense that damages the attacker. Now what? We know why they call her the steel-clad defense girl, which... that gives it away right there. Okay, I thought it was kind of weird. Steelix's outer shell starts to break off. DJ Mary spots it, saying, what's this? The face of Jasmine's Onix is falling off. Brock shouts, that's no Onix. Show me what you really are. And Steelix's outer shell breaks off, revealing the metal underneath. Misty calls out, what is that? Erica shouting, whatever it is, it's no Onix, which has been said multiple times now. As the rock shell falls away, Erica shouts, something else was wearing an armor of rock and fighting as an onyx. Which, that is such a weird deception. Brock questions what? As Jasmine tells her Steelix to use Crunch as it bites down on Onyx, causing Brock's Onyx a great deal of pain, causing it to fall down. As Brock struggles to his feet, he looks over saying, my Onyx knocked out? No way. The DJ Mary announces Onyx is out. The match is over. What an upset. Jasmine has defeated Brock. Brock looks up towards Onyx saying, I've never seen that Pokemon before. It looks like an Onyx, but it's made of some kind of metal. If Onyx is the rock snake, that must be the iron snake. Jasmine tells him, this is my Steelix. It was an Onyx one. Brock shouts, an evolved form. I didn't know Onyx could evolve, which I actually kind of like that we keep it so that there is the question of Pokemon evolution. Because Onyx only evolves under special condition. And I like that it's treated more like, oh, this can happen. I didn't know that. Brock only really knows about rock types, but, the evolution into a steel type would kind of throw him a bit. But even knowing that, he'd probably keep his Onyx as an Onyx. It only evolved into a Steelix in the anime. But that's mostly because the anime treated Brock almost as though he wasn't a rock-type Pokemon trainer sometimes. Because they gave him friggin' Crobat. What was Fortress? Was Fortress rock? It's steel. Bug and steel, which is like, huh. So in the anime, he uses more steel-based. But then he had a freaking Ludicolo, a Marshtomp, a Krogunk, Blessy. He had his Geodude, but he got rid of that. He had Sudowoodo for a while, which was cool and made a lot of sense. But even Vulpix, like Brock has had a lot of non-water type Pokemon in the anime, which could really kind of throw you sometimes. Oh wait, no, in Pokemon Stadium 2, he had a Steelix. Interesting. But it feels very circumstantial, I like him having an Onyx. When I think of Onyx, I think of Brock. When I think of Steelix, I think of Jasmine. DJ Mary calls out, the audience is stunned. It's a new Pokemon. Let's go to our Pokemon expert, Professor Oak, and see what he has to say. Professor Oak comes upon the screen saying, yes, ma'am. This Pokemon hasn't been officially announced by the Pokemon Society. The trainer I sent to Johto to collect data for the new Pokédex managed to catch one recently, confirming its existence. Yes, its name is, at least temporarily, Steelix. Steelix blushes from all the attention it's getting. It's weird to just have something like this happening, though. But I like the idea that as time goes on, we're discovering certain conditions for getting different kinds of Pokemon. Because this was the first time I encountered this Pokemon with Jasmine, as with Skarmory, Magnemite, and Magneton. We are classifying it as a Steel type, and are currently gathering data to formally present to the Society. It appears that when an Onyx lives for over 100 years, his body turns super hard like this. Which, no, that's not how that works. I mean, maybe, but let's see, it traded while holding Metal Coat. Yeah. See, that feels a little bit more like sound. Friggin' 100 years, come on. Although, I don't know, I don't hate it. Brock thinks, so she's our first Steel-type expert. He then calls out to Jasmine, just tell me one thing. Why do you make it look like an Onyx? Purely strategy? Jasmine says, no, I just didn't want to turn my Steelix into a sideshow attraction. Brock is bewildered by this answer, as DJ Mary announces Johto 1. Kanto 0. Which, that's an interesting way of looking at things. That she actually didn't really want the attention, but because of her position, she went for it anyway. That's why she didn't even bring it out to begin with. I guess she was hoping that maybe she could do it without needing her most powerful Pokemon. That is interesting. It makes her a lot more special. I'll say that much. And considering that Jasmine has kind of been a bit of a damsel up until this point, having her get the win over on Brock isn't bad. And Brock has gotten a lot of good attention lately, so I'm kind of willing to accept this loss. I gotta say though, I really do like the acknowledgement that it's like, yeah, we used to classify it as this, but now we're starting to understand other typings. Yes, the evolution of research. Acknowledge it. I like that. Acknowledge that, there's another classification here that we never really took into account before. And there are advantages and benefits and limitations and this, that, and the other. I really do kind of like it. All right, as Brock steps from the stage, he apologizes to Erica, who gives a bit of a "don't worry about it." Who could kind of foresee that coming? I think because Brock, I couldn't understand. Like, hey, it's obviously a Steelix. Like, no, nobody knows it's a Steelix. Nobody knows the existence of purely Steel-type Pokemon. Nobody, I guess, really understood it, even though you had, Magnemite and especially Skarmory. That's a fascinating concept. I wish we could dive further into it. But Misty rises from the seat and, motions to the crowd as Whitney does the same as they enter into the arena. Meanwhile, up in the bleachers, Gold questions, "Well, Chris, see anybody suspicious?" Chris says, "Nothing obvious. I just don't want to believe it. One of those gym leaders is recruiting the members of Team Rocket, but for what?" She thinks to herself. Team Rocket, a secret society that used Pokemon for evil ends, officially disbanded 3 years ago. Gold tells her, "Doesn't matter if you believe it or not. It's a fact. Remember what Old Man Oak said." We have a flashback to their communication with him back on the Whirl Islands. Gold shouting, "What? I've got to go to the league stadium with Chris? But why?" Oak tells them, "Because the masked man might be hiding there, the mastermind behind the revival of Team Rocket." This shocks the two Dex holders, as Oak goes on to explain. "His true identity remains unknown, but now we believe that a gym leader is behind that mask," which, it makes sense why it would be a gym leader, because who else would be that capable? The Elite Four aren't really recognized in this world as they were in all the other versions, and it's easy to see that maybe someone saw what Giovanni was up to and simply, just slotted right into that role. Chris questions, "A gym leader? Why would a master trainer stationed in a town with their own gym join Team Rocket?" Oak explains, "We don't know, but after Gold fought him, we found metal scrapings that must have come from a gym badge." Which must have come from a gym badge? What are gym badges made of that the material of them would be so easily recognizable? Not the kind of metal we use for regular trainer badges. They were from a badge made expressly for gym leader. The only others who know about this are Professor Elm, his assistant, Joey, the director of the Pokemon Association, and you two. In an effort to gather hard evidence, the association has gathered all the gym leaders together for the Pokemon League tournament. Gold shouts, "Wait, you mean..." Oak interrupts, saying, "Yes. To the public, this is just an entertaining exhibition map. But the real purpose of this event is..." Chris finishes, saying, "To learn the identity of the masked man." Oak tells him, "That's it. Since you fought him before, Gold, I need your help. Go into the stadium and see if you recognize him." Gold smiles, saying, "You got it." While Chris questions, "What about me? What can I do?" Oak tells her, "You keep an eye on Gold. He's a bit hot-headed. Your job is to keep him in check." Chris turns to the heated up Gold, going, "Huh?" While Gold shouts, "I'll find out who that masked freak is if it kills me." Which, yeah, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Just keeping Gold on task and from getting his butt into trouble. Oh, man. Chris, I hope you're getting well compensated for what you're dealing with this. In present day, Chris says, "Now then." Oh, no, it's Gold who says, "Now then. Let's go, Abo, Expo," as he leaps over the balcony with his A-palm and Triflosion into the audience. Oh, God. Chris shouts, thinks to herself, didn't I tell him to lie low? As Gold is making his way to the crowd, he says, "Whoop, excuse me." Crowd shouts, "What's going on?" This guy. Meanwhile, Misty is facing off with Whitney. Misty Starmie against Whitney's milk tank. And of course, Whitney tells Mill to use Rollout, but Starmie manages to dodge out of the way by leaping into the air. Misty tells Starmie to use Rapid Spin, and it slams into Milk Tank, injuring the cow's udders. But Milk Tank holds its ground and gets Starmie into a hold, gripping it tightly. Misty calls out, "Starmie, flash!" And Starmie's blinding light manages to cause Milk Tank to, leap off of the Pokemon. Misty then tells Starmie to use Hyper Beam, and Sarmi unleashes a massive blast against the Pokemon, causing Miltank to fall. Whitney calls out, "No, Mill," and she falls to her knees crying, which is on brand, but I feel less bad about it because Whitney's kind of been a bit of much in terms of the manga, at least for me. DJ Mary calls out, "Miltank is down. Misty of Cerulean Gym has defeated Whitney of Goldenrod Gym." As the crowd cheers, Misty waves to them. Meanwhile, in the crowd, Gold says confidently, "The league tournament is as flashy as its reputation. Those gym leaders are movie stars." Oh, Chris, I guess not really understanding what he's saying, says, "Don't make fun of them, Gold." But Gold says, "I'm not. I was just thinking, we don't pull this off, Pokemon lovers everywhere are gonna lose a great show. I'm not gonna let them be disappointed. Not by jerks who use Pokemon for evil." And Gold has a very serious look on his face as he grits his teeth. Chris kind of giving a bit of a worried call to him. And DJ Mary calls out, "Battle of the best versus the best can only get more exciting. Right now we have a tie between Kanto and Johto at one match each. Now it's on to the third match. As Falkner enters, Janine repels from the ceiling, probably on her Ariados' line, because she's just been doing that all damn day. DJ Mary calls out, "As you know, there are 3 new gym leaders out of the 16 gathered here today. This match will be between 2 rookies who have just recently been appointed as gym leaders. Falkner of Violet Gym versus Janine of Fuchsia Gym. Fight!" The 2 rush in. Falkner brings out his Noctowl, while Janine brings out her Grimer. Noctowl tries to charge in, but is repelled by Grimer's elastic body. Falkner says, "In case anyone's forgotten my introduction, I'm an extra flying type Pokemon." Meanwhile, Janine has Grimer use Shrink, which causes it to be harder to hit, as Falkner's shocked, riding upon his Noctowl. Bugsy calls out, "Grimer shrinking." Yeah, minimize, there you go. Morty says a technique called minimize. It shrinks to avoid enemy attack. Falkner looks around in confusion, thinking it disappeared. As Grimer gets into position underneath Noctowl, it then launches a, gross little loogie, maybe a sludge attack. Falkner sees it coming a little bit too late, as it does barely graze both Noctowl's wing and Falkner's shoulder. Ooh, we got some slight burns from the attack, but Falkner thinks that was Sludge Bomb. He must be a poison type expert. There you go. As Grimer launches another attack from the ground, Noctowl manages to dodge. Falkner saying, if I get hit even once, it'll all be over." DJ Mary calls out, "Grimer has shrunken to invisibility while firing sludge in every direction. How can Falkner fight against this?" Falkner thinks to himself, "Can't keep dodging forever. Okay then, Noctowl, Foresight." Noctowl does just that, zeroing in on the minuscule Grimer. Falkner tells Noctowl there, and it dives bomb onto Grimer. But Janine sends out one of her Pokeball shurikens, telling Grimer to come back, managing to scoop it up before it can be hit, which is such a wild thing. I'm so used to the anime where it's just like, no, we go until they faint, or we maybe recall them in certain ways, but usually not mid-attack. Janine then brings out her Ariados, which, type advantage, Falkner, but what can you do? Falkner says, "It doesn't matter what you bring out. I'll make sure you can't keep hiding on the ground. By taking this battle up to the sky where I can fight my best." As Noctowl manages to bring Ariados up into the sky, swings it around, and then chucks it onto the ground. Before Ariados can get back up, Falkner calls out, "I won't let you attack. Try this." But before Noctowl can get too close, Falkner notices something, saying, "Wait, Noctowl, stop." But Noctowl just inches away from a web that Ariados seems to let out. Janine says, "It detected my attack. That's a surprise." Falkner says, "If I had kept charging, it would have gotten tangled in those threads. Did it make this web while my Noctowl was swinging it around?" Janine says, "How observant. That's not all. Oh, what the heck?" Ariados shoots out a line that pierces Noctowl's shoulder. Janine saying, "The web from its spinneret is extra sticky guard thread. The one from its mouth is razor-sharp blade thread." Ooh, Noctowl falls to the ground from the injury. Falkner calling out, "Noctowl, in that case, Skarmory." But Janine says, "Too slow. and has Ariados wrap up Skarmory and then sending it into the net. Falkner calling out Skarmory. Janine says, blade thread can be wielded as a sharp-edged weapon. Switching to Skarmory with its hard body was smart, but it's still only a matter of time until I win. Which, damn, Falkner losing a type advantage? Oof. Falkner says she's strong, but I can't lose. I succeeded my father as gym leader. I've got to defend his honor. Janine is shocked by this, saying, you succeeded your father? But as Janine looks to the crowd, she gasps as she sees what seems to be Koga's silhouette. Janine says, oh, but something cuts through what's tying Skarmory up. Oh, it even cracked. Oh, yeah. Skarmory's body was cracking from being tied up. I didn't see that before. Oh, it's the little boomerang, invisible boomerang Pokeball blade that Falkner has. He says, keep your eyes on the battle. My Pokeball's been flying around the stadium like a boomerang, and it's made from one of Skarmory's clear feathers. This fight is just getting started. But Janine recalls her Ariados saying, I truly want to see you at your best, but that will have to wait. She leaps out of the stadium, much to Falkner's shock. She races through the stands. DJ Mary questioning, she's withdrawing? But that disqualifies her. Janine has just forfeited the match, and the winner is Falkner. Well, Falkner has followed Janine into the stand. Janine looks around desperately, thinking there's no mistake. That must be father. But as she gets to the top at the entrance, Falkner has managed to catch up, saying, wait, what just happened? But as he sees tears fall from her eyes, he's shocked. Janine, not looking towards him, says, I'm sorry, Falkner. I embarrassed us both. Falkner looks away, saying, it's all right. As Janine wipes tears from her eyes, she questions, you said you recently succeeded your father as gym leader. It seems that once again I fought someone very much like myself. I wonder if that is my destiny, she says, looking towards him, tears still in her eyes. But Falkner tells her, I won't ask what you saw in the audience, but this gives me the feeling that there's something ominous in this stadium. Oh. He brings out his police badge, saying, if danger lurks in the shadows, I have to arrest the source of it. After all, I am a police officer. Meanwhile, back in the Kanto stands, the Kanto bench, Sabrina talks to Serge, saying, so that's Koga's daughter. Serge tells her, appears to be. Meanwhile, Erica thinks to herself, Sabrina and Serge, they used to be accomplices of Team Rocket, but now they're just gym leaders again, as if their entire history has been erased. Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. I talked to the Pokemon Association about it, but they insisted there's no proof and refused to pursue it any further. Interesting that the two of them agreed to participate in this event so readily, right? Then again, it would be more questionable if they didn't. So Serge rises, saying, okay, I'm next, let's go. So Sabrina simply says, yeah. But Erica turns to Sabrina, saying, Sabrina, I understand you were staying at the secret hot springs of Mount Silver until recently. Sabrina doesn't respond. Erica questions, the previous champion of the league, our friend Red, was last seen heading for there. I'm asking you as the captain of the Kanto team. Did you meet Red at the springs? Sabrina, very haughtily, brushes her hair aside, saying, yes, I met him, so what? But Misty and Erica are shocked. Misty questioning, so you did meet Red at Mount Silver. Please tell me, how was he? Sabrina gets up, saying, you people are under a misconception. I didn't come here to be interrogated. She walks off. With Misty angry, Erica questions, where are you going? Sabrina tells her, not looking back, saying, to focus my mind before my match starts. I'll be in the back room. As she walks through the halls, Sabrina thinks to herself, that day. We flash back to Red arriving at Mount Silver at the spring, saying, phew, so this is the place. The hot springs that heal everything. He rolls up his pant leg. Chapter 157. Magnificent Magnemite. He plunges his hands and legs into the water, saying, there we go. Actually, I probably have to soak myself in it completely. He strips off all of his clothes and dives on in. Charizard looking down into the water as Red says, phew, too bad Charizard couldn't fly us in thanks to the special atmospheric conditions surrounding the spring. Oh, speaking of which, Charizard. Bada boing. Had to get one of my faves in there, thankfully. Climbing all the way up here, tussling with wild Pokemon every step of the way, has really got me beat. You want to jump in too? He says to Charizard, who seems intrigued. But as Charizard's tail nears the water, Part of it catches on fire. Red shouting, hot, hot, hot. Much to Charizard and Red's shock, a voice calls out, these hot springs emit flammable gas, hence the nickname Fire Springs. Fire-type Pokemon should stay clear of them. As Red puts out the fire with the spring water, he turns, questioning, huh? Who's there? And something hits him in the face and he shouts, ow! As Sabrina tells him, you can't come any closer. I've had Mr. Mime block off my area of the springs with light screen. Red looks through the steam saying, Sabrina, one of the 3 ex-leaders of Team Rocket. What a situation to be in. Sabrina says, you remember me. How flattering. It's been a while. Red shouts, what are you plotting now? Sabrina dismisses him, saying, calm down. I'm not plotting anything. I'm only here for my rehabilitation, much like yourself. Red questions, you too, huh? It's so odd that they're suffering such effect. The idea that a Pokemon's attack could cause lasting damage is something you're not really used to in this series. Sabrina turns, questioning, how's your Eevee doing? Red smiles, saying, well, come on out, Eevee. Come on out, V. Right. And he brings out his Espeon, telling her Eevee's an Espeon now, which means no more transformations into Vaporeon, Jolteon, or Flareon anymore. He pets his Espeon. I don't know why I couldn't think of the name. It's right there on the screen. But whatever makes a Pokemon happy is what's most important. Sabrina just smiles, saying nothing. After a while, she tells him, well then, I'm off. My injuries have finally healed. Just getting right out of the water, full buck-ass naked, much to Red's shock. As she makes her way out, she says, plus, all the gym leaders got an emergency summons to the Pokemon Association headquarters. Red, turning away, half submerged in the water up to his face, says, summons association. Sabrina turns, getting her clothes on, saying, if you're planning to go, you'd better hurry. Something big is going down at the next league tournament. Red jolts up, saying, what? What's going down? And how do you know? Sabrina is fully dressed in her more usual attire rather than her rocket gear. She brings out her Kadabra, saying, how do you think? I'm the psychic of Saffron, Sabrina. I knew that you'd be coming here too. And she jumps onto her Kadabra and has it use teleportation. Red shouting, wait! What? She's gone. Meanwhile, Red says, no fair, I have to heal. I'll never make it on time. But then suddenly a spoon with a note attached appears right next to him. Picks it up, questioning, what's this? As he unfurls the note, it reads, you want to recuperate faster? There's a spring here, above here, with even more powerful healing effect. If you're up for a risk, use this spoon to guide you. Red looks to the spoon, saying, the spoon of destiny. I always love that spoon of destiny. As Sabrina stops recounting all of this, she's in the back room watching events on the television and an old CRT, thinking, why am I being so nice to him? Could it be because Giovanni liked him so much? Which, I think that's a good note. Because, let's face it, a lot of the gym leaders who are on the Rocket side liked Red to some degree. I kind of like that there's this kind of unspoken like towards Red, even amongst his enemies. Sabrina then notices the goings-on the TV of the battle between Lieutenant Surge and Morty. She thinks Surge's battle has already started, as Surge's Electabuzz faces off against Morty's Ghastly. Surge tells his Electabuzz to use Thunder on Morty's Ghastly, which kind of looks like it caused it to faint, but Morty calls out Ghastly, switch with Mischievous. As he brings out his Mischievous, it dodges between Electabuzz's Thunder, but is eventually connected with in the attack. Surge laughs, saying, ha ha ha, you're on your last leg, aren't you? Then I'll just have to finish you off. But as Electabuzz goes for another Thunder, nothing happened. Surge questions his Electabuzz, saying, what? What happened? As Morty tells him, brandishing the Ghastly Pokeball, I'm probably thinking you should be able to use that attack a couple more times. But have you considered that my Ghastly did something to your Electabuzz before it switched? Surge is aghast, saying, no way. Spite. Which, gotta love the name of that attack. Bite. Oh man, that's wild. You know what? I don't bring it out often, but I'm actually starting to grow a little fond of Electabuzz because of Lieutenant Surge. So I'm putting him on the list. I do like Electabuzz. I wasn't really about it before, but you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. I do think Electabuzz is kind of cool, especially with that one girl Casey in the anime, who was part of that one sports team, who was a fan of that one sports team. So you know what? Get in the Electabuzz. See, this manga's changing my opinion on a lot of things. In the stands, Erica says thunder is a powerful attack. It takes so much out of a Pokemon. There's a limit to how many times it can be used. Brock says so, with spite. That limit came a lot sooner. Lieutenant Surge's Electabuzz can't use thunder anymore, which is so wild. Morty then says on top of that, Pain Split. Mischievous uses the attack on Electabuzz, which damages Mischievous, but it damages Electabuzz as well. Electabuzz falls to the ground in pain. Surge questioning, what did you do? Morty smiles, saying, split the pain between the two of them. Their Electabuzz may be at full power, but my Mischievous is nearly out. I can still hang on if I average the damage between them. DJ Mary calls out, Morty's Mischievous was on the brink of elimination, but somehow Morty managed to turn the tables. Clever tactic. Morty calls out, I'm an expert on ghost types, including how to use their power to steal opponents' moves and energy. Mischievous, Psywave. But as Mischievous does just that, Surge says, deflect it, Magnemite, bringing out his Magnemite. But the deflective shield causes Surge and his Magnemite to be knocked back. Surge saying, the best I can do is avoid a direct attack. Direct hit. Gotta hand it to you, chum. You're a lot braver than you look. You took all that damage on purpose to control the tide of battle. This fight must really matter to you. Morty smiles, saying, that goes for you and me both. You're not just fighting to win an exhibition match, are you? Something deeper? Surge calls out, no, I'm looking for somebody. I can't lose until I get a rematch with him. And he's here. Surge thinks to himself, and he's here somewhere in this stadium right now. And as if to give it away, Surge, without turning his head, eyes back towards Price. Like, Morty says, yes, a goal that keeps you from giving up. My goal is the rainbow Pokemon. I believe even clairvoyant abilities can't locate. I have to improve until I'm able to find Ho-Oh. Surge calls out, so we both got reasons why we're determined not to lose. Guess we'll have to go all out. Magnemite, pull your power from the shield and use it to attack. Timing's gotta be perfect. Let's see what's stronger. My electromagnetism or your psi waves? Morty tells him, go for it. And Surge tells his Magnemite, let's try Zap Cannon. And the power is unleashed. Sabrina smiles, saying, you've done it, Lieutenant Surge won. Okay, I couldn't tell what was happening. Sabrina leaves the back room, but she overhears a conversation in another room as she goes down the hall. A voice calls out, I didn't expect to see you here, thanks for coming. Another voice says, the gym leader of our very own Azalea Town, on the biggest stage of his life, wouldn't miss it for the world. So, how's the caption that I made for you working out? Says Kurt, alongside his granddaughter. Bugs says, great, thanks. What was his granddaughter's name? Maisie. Maisie questions, how's it different from a Pokeball? Kurt says, the basic principles are the same. It's actually nice to see Kurt again. Almost completely forgot about him. Normal Pokeballs have an invisible net that triggered to pop out when they hit a Pokemon and capture it. This system has the net ready for action from the start. Bugsy, brandishing his net, says, well, I'm fighting today, so I won't be needing this anyway. It won't be long before it's my... But as he goes to open the door, his eyes meet with Sabrina. Bugsy smiles, saying, oh, Sabrina does not say anything, but Bugsy smiles anyway, saying, well, we'll be battling soon. Let's make a good effort. Sabrina turns away, but then peeks at Bugsy's rod. I keep saying rod. Net. We pick up in chapter 158, Silly Scyther. As, Lieutenant Surge has Magnemite unleash its powerful attack. I'm already forgetting what the attack's name is. Zap Cannon against Morty's Mischievous. Brock shouts, that's it, it's over. As Mischievous floats to the ground, DJ Mary says Morty's Mischievous has been knocked out and the winner of the match is, but DJ Mary's shocked as Magnemite falls as well. Surge shouting, what? Causing both to hit the ground at the same time. Morty, having been hit by his Mischievous on his way out, says, it was the only thing I could do to keep from losing. Destiny Bond. Surge shouts, Destiny Bond? The technique of linking your opponent's fate to your own, so if you go down, they go down, go with you. DJ Mary says, correction. Both Pokemon are out. Match 4 ends in a tie. Morty wobbles to his feet saying, I know you were hoping for a victory, but it was a good fight, yeah? He extends his hand for Surge. Surge pretends that he's going for Morty's hand, but then he has a menacing look to his face and knocks Morty's hand away, saying, I don't do handshake. He stomps away saying, I'm looking for someone, remember? He's somewhere in this stadium. In fact, he could be you, he says, turning to Morty with an evil glare. Though, Morty's helped you out multiple times, buddy. It'd be wild if he actually was the one behind all this. DJ Mary announces, Johto holds its overall lead with 2 wins, 1 loss, and a draw. But watch out for Kanto in match 5. Sabrina approaches Surge as he comes off of the stage, asking, how was it? Surge turns back with a sneer, saying, stay alert. Can't let your guard down for an instant. Sabrina tells him, I'm off. As Mary announces, Bugsy of Azalea Gym versus Sabrina of Saffron Gym. Begin. Sabrina brings out her Mr. Mime. Bugsy says, they say you're an expert on Psychic type. Psychic Pokemon are usually effective against other Pokemon. It's easy to think of them as the most powerful type. But even Psychic type Pokemon have weaknesses. And he brings out his Scyther! And because of that, bada bing! Scyther time, baby. Another one of my favorite Pokemon. Get a little cramped in here. As Bugsy says, weaknesses such as bug types, my specialty. Erica calls out, you have to avoid the first strike, but it's too late. A Scyther lays into Mr. Mime, and really lays into it, just unleashing a flurry of attacks on Mr. Mime, beating it left, right, and center. Misty shouts to Erica, the strikes keep getting stronger. Erica says it's using Fury Cutter. Yep, it's a furious cut, alright. But as Mr. Mime finally manages to dodge under one of Scyther's strikes, Bugsy recalls his Scyther saying, I commend you for dodging it, but you're not getting away. Then he brings out his Heracross that lifts up Mr. Mime on its horn and chucks it in the air using Mega Horn. And Mr. Mime hits the ground and hard. DJ Mary with her Smeargle covering its eyes says, Sabrina's been forced into a corner by Bugsy's attacks. It's a psychic type expert's nightmare, being up against a bug type expert. Sprout grits his teeth saying the matchups were decided by a lot, so it's just bad luck. Misty bites at her thumb, saying, I'll bet she could have demonstrated a lot more power against a different opponent. As Mr. Mime struggles to its feet, DJ Mary says, looks like Sabrina is about to launch a counterattack. Sabrina commands Mr. Mime to use Confusion, but Bugsy has Heracross use Endure, and it pushes through the attack. Bugsy calls out, that's not going to work. Heracross, make this attack the final one. I gotta say, despite being so nice, Bugsy is laying it on hard. Oh, but as Heracross goes in, it hits something invisible. Mr. Mime dances around gleefully, much to Bugsy's shock. As he steps forward, he presses on something, though nothing is there. As Bugsy questions what the, Sabrina slowly walks up invisible stairs up to her Mr. Mime as she laughs. Bugsy shouting, huh? Something surrounding me. It's like I'm inside some kind of invisible room. Sabrina looks down on Bugsy both figuratively and literally, saying, more or less. Mr. Mime's finger movements look like pantomime, but they emit waves that solidify the air into an invisible house that only I can see. As we see that psychic house as well, not a very great house. I'm sorry, Mr. Mime, I'm not paying you for that contracting job. The stairway leads to the second floor. I'm above the hallway. Somewhere in the room you're in, there's an exit. Can you find it? Bugsy claws at the wall, thinking I've been tricked. She's only pretended I was beating her so she could build this. Sabrina watches Bugsy and laughs. Find that exit yet? Bugsy looks back and questions, how am I supposed to find an invisible hole in an invisible wall? Heracross, use takedown to smash through the wall. But suddenly, Heracross puts his arms up for Endure. Much to Bugsy's shock, he tells his Heracross, not Endure, I said takedown. But then, he sees Mr. Mime above him, and turns saying, wait, don't tell me use Encore, Sabrina says with a smile. Very nice. Heracross got hit with an Encore and can only repeat the last move it used. Yell all the commands you want. There's no point. Which is one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of moves that are mostly for defense or for stat injuries, because sometimes just they cause more problems than help. At least for me. You probably have a great field day with those kinds of attacks, but I'm used to more physical attacks just going in. I diversify, of course, different moves and stuff like that. I always try to have a diverse set of moves for each of my Pokemon, but I've had Encore used before, and it's just like, well, you've Encored an attack that is actually very effective. Good luck. Sabrina calls out, so let's end it. Psybeam. And Mr. Mime, looking kind of like a badass, unleashes a powerful Psybeam that ricochets right into Heracross, knocking it down. Bugsy looks at his Heracross, utterly flabbergasted, and as Sabrina goes down the invisible hall, she says, these barriers not only protect the user, but limit the opponent's movements as well. I suggest you keep that in mind, he says dismissively, drawing a victory against Bugsy, which, dang, brutal. Oh man, though I do love the haughty attitude of Sabrina. It's dulled over the years, and the dangerous nature of Sabrina isn't on display nowadays, and I kind of miss it. We then cut back over to the Whirl Islands. Silver meeting with Lance, who's freaking sitting in a throne. Jeez. After all this time, friggin' Lance. Silver approaches Lance's throne, saying, I should give this back to you. It has proved helpful at times, but ultimately, I've never been able to get the best use out of it. He returns Lance's Tyranitar. That's interesting. It did seem a little out of place with most of Silver's team, but I just kind of figured he trained it up. But this kind of makes sense. Though I don't remember an incarnation of Lance with a Tyranitar, but as Lance gets back his Tyranitar, he says, no problem. I just thought it might come in handy. Silver tells him there's been some twists and turns along the way, but things are mostly proceeding as planned. Good work. Also, oh no, that's Lance saying that as he pockets the Tyranitar. I can tell that this mission has made you a better trainer. Isn't that right, Silver? Silver says, yes, there's no doubt about it. I'm stronger than ever. A Silver Sneasel comes up and grabs Lance by the neck. Which, speaking of which, bada bing Sneasel! A lot of my favorite Pokemon in this one. One more and I have a team. Although, I don't know how good of a team it is, honestly. In Chapter 159, Popular Pupitar. Lance, though taken off guard by Sneasel going for his neck, simply smiles, questioning, what's the meaning of this? Silver tells him, the only reason I followed your orders for the past 6 months was because I knew it would bring me closer to the enemy. It's time for you to tell me, what is the masked man's purpose? Tell me everything you know, he says, getting in Lance's face. After a brief pause, Lance simply smiles, going, always the same look in your eyes, the look you had when you tried to kill me. Oh, we cut back to a flashback when the battle tower was under construction and only just a series of girders. We see Lance somewhere in the construction walking under the moonlight. Suddenly something catches his attention. He questions who's there. There's no response, just the wind howling through the not even fully constructed building. But Lance readies himself, saying, is it my imagination or no? I've been sensing it ever since the battle at Cersei Island. Someone's watching me. There. And he brings out 2 of his Dragonair, which go striking in the distance. A Murkrow flaps through, avoiding. Lance says, it's too dark. I can't see. Get back here. You can't escape me. But Silver has his Murkrow use Pursuit, throwing an attack at Lance. But Lance, having brought out his Pupitar, manages to defend against Murkrow's attack. A young Silver stands revealed before Lance. Lance questions, what do you want with me? But Lance then pets his Silver's Murkrow, saying, I don't really need you to tell me. He gets the information from Murkrow, saying Lance tried to catch the large flying Pokemon. So he might have something to do with those kidnappings 9 years ago. Is that it? Much to Silver's shock, Lance says, I don't need the trainer to talk when this Murkrow remembers everything, and I happen to be able to read the minds and memories of Pokemon. Murkrow looks worried, like, uh-oh, I know you can do that. Silver thinks, so that's Lance's special power. Lance turns away, saying, after the incident on Cersei Island, I lay low so nobody would know if I was alive or dead. But you found me. Impressive. Unfortunately, I'm afraid I have nothing to do with those kidnappings, much to Silver's shock. Lance turns to him, saying, with a bit of a smile, I wanted Lugia to assist with the Elite Four's plan to create a utopia, but what does that matter anymore? I have regrets about that too, believe what you will. So, this is the path to redeeming Lance. A bit of a hard sell considering everything that happened, but I like my Lance as a good guy. There was a time way back when that I thought Lance could have had the potential to be some kind of a villain, but I've spent too long with Lance as a good guy. After a moment of silence, Silver speaks up saying, I can tell by your eyes that you're telling the truth. Sorry to have bothered you. But as Silver goes to leave on his Murkrow, Lance calls out, hang on. Maybe it's none of my business, but if you care about a Pokemon, it doesn't hurt to let it see that you do. That Murkrow of yours is getting depressed. Silver questions, what? Lance tells him, it's easy to forget that your Pokemon's state of mind affects its strength. I could tell during our scuffle. At your current level, you won't be able to achieve much. You'll probably even lose to the one you're pursuing, if he's powerful enough to control the legendary giant flying Pokemon. Angrily, Silver says, sounds like you know something about the masked man. Would you like me to... Oh, Lance questions, would you like me to share? In present day, Lance, still being held at Sneasel Point, says that offer brought a price with it. Silver says that offer brought a price with it. I had to carry out your orders for 6 months. I became a better trainer in the process. Lance tells him, you agreed? But Silver waves his hand saying, I don't care why you made me do any of it. The only thing I care about is fighting the masked man. And your intelligence was accurate. You knew about the Syndicate's movements and sent me to them. And then I fought him. But I lost. But I put up a good fight. Next time we meet, I'll win. But for that to happen, Lance takes Sneasel's hand off of his throat, saying, fine. But before I tell you, I'd like to confirm a few things. You said the Sneasel was with you from the time you were kidnapped by the masked men until you escaped. Lance goes and reads the Sneasel's mind, getting images that look like Team Rocket executives, young Silver escaping with Green, then training with Green against her Jigglypuff. Who are those other figures? They look like members of the Elite Four of Johto. Yeah, it is them. Interesting. Okay, so that's how you're gonna bring them in. I knew I recognized those silhouettes. Lance says there were 5 who trained with you. Silver says yes, 3 male-female pairs. Oh, okay, I'm wondering how. I know those silhouettes. I wonder how those 2 come into play, because the Elite Four of Johto are made up of 1 gym leader from Kanto and 1 of the Elite Four from Kanto. Lance asks, did you recognize each other? Silver says no. The pairs were kept separate, and we were forced to wear masks. Lance asks, what else did you do besides learning how to become a trainer? Silver explains, each pair had to develop specific skills and areas of knowledge. For me and my partner Green, it was evolution and trading. Evolution? Wait, Green's specialty is evolution? Really? I feel like we haven't really seen her do much in terms of evolving her Pokemon. I guess mostly because the Jigglypuff she's had is still a Jigglypuff and hasn't evolved into a Wigglytuff. Maybe there's a reason for that. Some people prefer to have their Pokemon stay a certain way. The Evolver Green. Lance says, and with Green's help you managed to escape, huh? That woman gave me so much trouble back at Cersei Island. Lance reads through the Sneasel's memories, seeing the escape, which, dang, Sneasel saw a lot from inside that Pokeball, huh? It seems Sneasel also remembers that Green took something that belonged to the masked man at the time of your escape. Do you remember that, Silver? Silver thinks. He remembers seeing something in Green's hand, saying, yeah. He remembers Green saying, ha, let's take this. Showing what seems to be the rainbow feathers? Is that what they were called? Or is that one feather from Ho-Oh and one feather from Lugia? Interesting. Lance says, yes, it's all beginning to make sense. I know why the masked man is so fixated on Lugia and Ho-Oh. It's time. The masked man is trying to control time. Wait, what? What? Control time? But Ho and Lugia don't have that kind of power. I don't think. There's something there that we're not aware of? Oh, hey, we pick up with Yeller and the fisherman inside some house. Fisherman fast asleep, and as Yellow stirs, she lifts her hat off her face, going, huh? Hey, where am I? How long have you been asleep? Well, that's right. I was off the coast of Olivine with my fisherman friend. We got attacked by a huge Pokémon. Somebody saved us, but who? And where am? As she opens the sliding wooden door, she goes, whoa. Oh, she sees various Pokémon all cuddling up to each other. Pokémon pairs all gathered, getting along really well. So many of them. Hey, isn't Jasmine coming out? Oh, a voice calls out from the other room. Hey, isn't Jasmine coming out? Calm down, honey, you'll break the radio. Oh, it's probably the daycare people. It's just the league's opening ceremony. If you're this excited already, you'll run out of steam before the end. And the voice says, oh, you're awake. As we see the daycare attendant with Yellow's 2 Pikachu and a Pokemon egg. Oh, and now we're opening with Feraligatr. A Feraligatr. Bada bang. Good stuff. Might have to start putting them on the sides. But we see Silver racing across the ocean on his Feraligatr. He thinks to himself, time. The masked man's trying to control time, but he thinks back to when he and Gold encountered the masked man. I forget who was speaking to them on the Pokegear, but they say, I've completed my analysis of that gold powder. The masked man may be a gym leader. Suddenly, Silver's Pokegear goes off. A voice? Oh, it's Lance. I had to go to the next page. Lance says, where are you right now? Silver says, I'm heading east, and I can see New Bark Town to my left. Lance says, I see. They should be able to reach Indigo Plateau soon. Silver, the masked man is in fact a gym leader, like you said, and this will be your best opportunity to find out who he is. The opening ceremony for the Pokemon League is taking place at Indigo Plateau right now, and all the gym leaders are there. Go there and discover his identity. This will be your final mission. I do wonder why Lance is, taking Silver under his wing this way, but maybe it's a type of atonement? I don't know. It's chapter 160, Playful Porygon 2. The daycare man says, did you sleep well? Well, Yellow asks, where am I? The daycare lady says, you're in the Pokemon daycare. Yellow questions, daycare? You raise Pokemon for their trainers here, right? The daycare man says, that's right. Yellow says, I've heard rumors about this place. Oh, I know. And she pulls out a letter from Jasmine. She remembers Jasmine's words from when they last met, saying, you have an adorable Pikachu couple. If you get the chance, I suggest you go there. Yellow says, I met a gym leader named Jasmine who gave me your address. Daycare man says, then you owe Jasmine a debt of gratitude. You two washed ashore without any identification on you. The only thing you had to identify you was that note with our address. Which, dang, that's dangerous to have. Yellow says, so that's what happened. Thank you so much for taking care of us. He says with a bow. Daycare man says, not at all. Yellow then says, Pika and Choo-Choo, what's that? An egg? Man, it's been a while, and the 2 Pikachu got busy. The daycare man says, yes, indeedy. I left these 2 Pikachu together, and next thing I knew, there wasn't this egg. It's a polite way of saying they've been I probably shouldn't say that. Yellow is pretty much literally knocked back, saying, what? The daycare man says, come along now. You can continue our small talk later. Oh, the daycare lady says that. Naturally, you'll be wanting to compensate us in some way for sleeping at our house for days. And I've got just the job for you. She kicks the fisherman away. She tells the 2, there, blow up those balloons. Keep at it. The fisherman says, I thought this was a Pokemon daycare. The daycare lady says, it's a little side business to pick up some spending money. The fisherman says, listen, Grandma, we need to get... But she slaps the fisherman around, saying, who are you calling Grandma? Call me Princess. The fisherman says, never! Holding his cheeks and crying. Yellow looking on, just in amazement. The daycare man says, 2 more victims entrapped by my wife. Oh, Yellow looks over to the side and sees a picture saying, "Is this a picture of you from when you were young?" The daycare man says, "Ah, yes, the days of our youth." And it's a picture of what looks to be Professor Oak holding the younger daycare man in a headlock while his past wife dotes over him. Agatha looks on dismissively while Kurt is holding an apricot. Interesting. I love seeing young Professor Oak, and young Agatha is cute. Meanwhile, back over at the Pokemon League, Silver enters through the doors. The receptionist saying, "You here as a spectator? Sorry, even standing room only is filled up." Silver then looks over to the desk for participants and walks over. The receptionist from before says, "Hey, the registration for participants is over. Besides, you would have had to pre-register and completed in the preliminaries." Silver then drops all 8 badges from the Johto region on the table, which, how do you have that? How do you have that, boy? Like, have you been doing that in the background? I don't understand. The receptionist says, "What?" Silver says, "I'm told I can bypass the preliminaries with these." The receptionist says, "Yes, you can. Go right in." The others say, "Someone actually earned every single badge." So as Silver walks away, he thinks, truth be told, I stole them from empty gyms. You know what? On the one hand, it makes a lot of sense. The gyms have not really been very occupied throughout this part of the series, but dang, way to make the gym badges feel so superfluous in this. But Silver ducks and dives through the corridors of the arena. He thinks to himself, there are the locker rooms for the gym leaders. The leaders themselves will be at the exhibition match now, out in the main stadium. This is my chance to check their rooms. But as he peeks in the door to one room, he sees someone reading a book. He lowers himself a little, thinking, someone's in there. I didn't think any of the gym leaders would come back here yet. Suddenly the phone in the room rings and the person answers. Oh, it's Blue. The person on the line says, "Blue of Viridian Gym? Your match is about to begin. Please return to the main stadium." Blue says, "Okay." As he sets down the phone, he looks at the Pokeball with his Gyarados in it, Gyarados! You're going right over to the side here. Again, I am running out of room. This is getting very tight. There's too many good Pokemon. Blue thinks to himself, Red's as stubborn as ever. He thought it would be unfair to borrow my Charizard, so he left his Gyarados behind. Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Suddenly, there's a flash. And Blue says, huh? He thinks to himself, it's hot. What's this? Someone's there. As he looks towards the door, Silver feels it too, thinking, this heat isn't normal. What's going on? But as Blue kicks down the door, much to Silver's shock, they lock eyes. Blue says, what? Now Silver brings out a Sneasel and has it use Feint Attack. Blue responds, bringing out Porygon 2, who tanks the hit, launching it and Blue backwards. Silver thinks, is he causing this heat somehow? He commands a Sneasel one more time with the feint, but Porygon manages to knock the hit to the side. Blue tells him it's no use. My Porygon 2 uses conversion to change its type so that it would be more powerful against Sneasel. For this battle, Porygon 2's type is dark, where attacks won't accomplish much. Silver says, I see. That's an interesting move. But suddenly, the heat gets even more intense for the two of them. As Blue wipes his sweat, he says both of us thought the other caused this unnatural heat. But look, there's the real source. Oh my god! As they look up the stairs, in the doorway stands Entei. I'll be honest, I seriously wasn't expecting Entei to just be up in the doorway being like, stop. Holy crap. Oh, that's intimidating. Jeez. It's literally radiating both heat and aura from the top of those steps. Like big Dio Brando energy. Blue thinks to himself, that's a powerful fire-type Pokemon. Which means, Silver's thinking the same thing, thinking the only one that stands a chance is they brandish their Pokeballs ready to battle. Meanwhile, Daisy Oak is making her way up different stairs, saying, where the heck is Blue? When this match ends, he's up next. I came to cheer him on because Grandpa's busy at the lab. I didn't expect to be sent to fetch him. It's awfully hot down here. Is the air conditioning broken? But as she rounds the corner up the stairs, she spots, oh, both blue and silver brandishing their Gyarados, as Daisy thinks, a red and blue Gyarados? What's going on here? As they've both chosen the same Pokemon to take on the legendary Entei. Ooh, end of chapter. You know, I've constantly said before that there are similarities and differences between blue and silver, but it really is when you have the two like right next to each other, it's very clear they're different people. The blue's experience, his level-headedness, he's not as rash as silver is. There's this discipline to blue that silver just doesn't quite have. Despite the fact that silver is very intelligent, he's very capable, but he tends to be a little bit too willing to jump at any given attack. It's all very interesting. These fights have also been interesting. Lots of character, lots of action and stuff, and just growth of the Pokemon world as a whole. Brock's battle with Jasmine was fun just because you got to see in real time the changing of the understanding of the Pokemon world. You never got to see that in the anime pretty much until like much later down the line at least, and I would have loved those kinds of moments. Having it be that these Pokédex holders are discovering these new things and realizations just really does a lot in the long run. Surge's battle against Morty was fun just because of the fact that those two have an interesting bond. Misty's battle against Whitney unfortunately didn't get anything. It kind of sucks because Whitney keeps getting treated not that great in this series outside of that first initial battle she had, which is a bummer, especially considering the infamy that is Whitney's milk tank. It just almost makes it feel like the milk tank is kind of wasted on her. But Falkner's battle against Janine, dang, that had a lot of emotion. And like, man, I really keep hoping that Janine will actually meet up with Koga at some point, because it's just like, come on, the girl's going through it here, man. And then I felt so bad for Bugsy. Sabrina played him like a fiddle. I mean, in the long run, I do like Sabrina more than Bugsy, though, so what can I really say there? But he is so polite, and she just ground her heel into his head, essentially. But fun battles. Gold's rashness needing to be held in check by Crystal is fun, just because they make a much more fun pairing in the long run than just Silver and Gold. Silver and Gold are fun when the time presents itself, but Crystal and Gold are fun just all the time. Just because it's constantly Crystal being like, Gold, no! Like a mom who's just really disappointed in her child. It's fun. It is fun. But the relationship that Silver has with Lance is very interesting. I wonder what that ultimately leads to. And the idea that the masked man is trying to manipulate time itself, like, hey, unless a Pokemon that can manipulate time. In Johto, I know what Pokemon can do that. Okay, I'm saying this because I don't know what happens, so cut like a minute ahead if you don't want potential spoiler. I don't know how you're watching this, but in theory, that might be a spoiler bound. Maybe if what Green stole were the feathers of Lugia and Ho-Oh, could it be that would be used with apricorns to make the GS ball? The GS ball is needed in order to summon Celebi, and with Celebi you control time. That could be it. So I'm like, what? Lugia and Ho-Oh can't control time, but there is one. There is another. That's interesting. That is interesting. And Entei having entered the fray. Man. Though it does make sense, all the gym leaders are here, and Suicune has already chosen it. So I guess it's Entei's turn. But it almost feels like Entei might have chosen Blue? Just have to wait and see. Because I assumed maybe Blaine because, Fire Gym leader, but maybe not? We'll see. But man, what an intimidating moment. just looking through the doorway and see this massive dog Pokemon. Just, oh my god. I'm like wondering, what the heck is this heat coming from? What is it doing? Who's doing this? I thought it was a machination of the masked man or something like that. But man, Entei. Interesting. So the one that Entei has a kind of bond with is Silver. Oh, interesting. So, okay. That makes more sense with the Legend of Thunder special in Pokemon. Because you had the character Jimmy and his weird connection with Raikou. And now you'll have Gold with the connection to Raikou too. Okay, it makes sense. Gold, Raikou, and the yellow electricity. Okay, cool. Although we didn't do anything similar to that in the previous generation. You know, Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno didn't have any real bond with anyone outside of Red, and that was kind of barely. And it was mostly Red having a bit of a bond with Articuno more than anything else. And then when it came to Mew and Mewtwo, Mew appeared a few times to Red, but then it just poof. And then Mewtwo a little bit closer to Red, but also a little close to Yellow. But I'm interested how things will play out. So let me know your thoughts on these chapters in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I hope to see you later. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.